If I told you that one tiny company could be about to change the energy industry forever and that it's trading for just $1, would you be intrigued? This little-known Aussie company says it's found a way to transform fossil fuels into clean energy. Think about that for a second. That's huge. Currently, this company is so small that hardly anyone knows about it, which is why its stock is still so cheap. And that means there's the potential for incredible returns if and when this company's tech goes mainstream. This clean energy breakthrough stock is just one of 7 promising Aussie companies on our radar at the moment. To get the full details on all of them, click the link below now.
Hi there, welcome to the closing bell on the 13th of November. It's been a very interesting week this week. We saw some inflation figures out of China. They were huge, 13.5%. We saw immense CPI figures out of the US, heading above 6% annualized. So whether or not this is transitory, as they'd like to say, it's still pretty big figures. And I think the market is reacting and realizing that this is more than just a flash in the pan. I certainly think inflation is going to stick around for a while. Rates are at 0 and have been for a long time, and they absolutely pumped the market hard after the pandemic. And just to keep things afloat, to keep everyone's balance sheet alive, printing heaps of money, buying heaps of bonds, keeping rates near 0. There's got to be an outcome from that. And I think we're seeing it with inflation kicking higher. We've already seen all of those resource stocks flying to the upside across the board, energy breaking out with Europe and Asia fighting over LNG supplies and coal, oil prices going through the roof. These are all inflationary and I think a result really of the monetary phenomenon of what we've been seeing. So we are entering a bit of a new era, and gold has been languishing, but I think that period may be over. And gold could surprise to the upside because it's been in the doldrums for so long. So I just want to update you on what we were talking about last week and have a look at a few of those gold stocks. And I think that should be enough because there is still opportunity out there. So let's get into it. Looking at the gold price, last week we were talking, the price was down here at $17.95. And I was saying, look, this thing is getting ready to go. I pointed out for you, just for people who haven't been watching, I'm looking at this whole range, which is the range created during the correction over the last 15 months. So my calculations are based on that range. That's basically where everyone's new positions have been created in that range. So we're looking at where have all of the positions been made in the range, where's that midpoint, which I find is the gravitational point of control, where the market often oscillates around, and those buy and sell zones that I tell you about, with the buy zone of that range down here and the sell zone of the range up there. So we've got the point of control around 1875 is what I was saying to you at the time. And you can see that the move we've had with all this work we've been seeing, it's not been able to really bounce hard, but there's been a lot of buying pressure out of this buy zone. And I was saying, look, it might be third time lucky here. And if we can crack above 1835, I expected there to be a bit of a step change in the buying. And the fact that it was the US CPI figures that really kicked prices through that level, I think it really adds a bit of credence to the fact that this break is going to have some legs to it. So the move we've seen, I said it should be pretty quick once we break above 1835 to the point of control, which is that midpoint of the whole correction over the last 15 months. And you can see it's pretty much played out like that, with prices, you know, rocketing up through there. And the high in the move this week is around that 1875. It was an 1868 high. And look, often that point of control can be resistance. So that may be the case here. We've had a pretty big run in the last couple of weeks. So we can't be surprised by a bit of volatility around here. things never move in a straight line. If we were going to see prices remain strong, they should find support around that 1835 region. That would show that prices are really strong. So if we do see a bit of weakness here, and you see prices bouncing off that 1835 area and busting up through the point of control around 1875, well, there is a chance that this rally could ultimately surprise to the upside and rotate all the way to the sell zone of the range, which would be up around 2000, sort of 1975 to 2025. So as we're watching this progress, these sort of moves are what can happen now, especially as we're seeing inflation really break out. US bonds still very low in yield, the negative real yield getting very large now. And I think, I wouldn't buy US 10-year bonds at 1.5%, that's for sure. But how those bonds move will be interesting. But I still think the case can be made that with negative real yields, around 4 or 5% now, if you're looking at CPI at 6%, there's a reason to be holding gold, and there's no opportunity cost. So I think we're going to see gold catapult to the upside again. Watching how it moves around 1875 is important, but we're just getting all of those signs. It's all starting to fall into place now. And I think ultimately, even if in the short term it's volatile, we will see prices start to head up into that sell zone. And that would really end the correction, as I've been saying, where we're looking at the down waves that we've seen. It's been a very clear correction on the way down here with lower lows and lower highs. And we didn't end up seeing another wave to the downside. Instead, it will be threatening that lowest high in the downtrend. And once prices hit up through there, that's around 1960. For me, that pretty much says that correction's done, even if you're going to see more volatility. You've got to have rules, to define things for yourself. Really, I think we are going to see gold continue to perform. And those gold stocks really are still looking pretty beaten up, even though we have seen some buying come in. So let's have a quick look at those. Just to recap on those gold stocks I showed you last week, let's just quickly go through them. Silver Lake Resources, that was around mid-160s. That's up at $1.85 this week. So that's really starting to take shape. Maybe it's getting a little hot in the short term, but I think on any weakness, this one's looking pretty good. Evolution has really picked up steam. I really am liking the look at that. That is in the Pivot Trader portfolio. That was, down here last week, and it's really kicked higher. You can see that if we close around this area this month, this is what I was discussing with you, was we'd get that monthly buy pivot. Now we're still a long way from the end of the month, but I think the way gold's looking, this monthly buy pivot could be quite large. We could really see it pick up, which is why I went early and jumped on that one. And the whole structure of this, I really like the look of it, that ABC structure back into major support, which I was discussing last week, and the overlap of that ABC structure sort of happening now, the monthly buy pivot taking shape. So things really traveling along well there. Always volatile, never makes it easy. But I think we're looking at something like that over the next few months. Perseus was another one that I said, look, we need to buy it near the highs if you're going to do it, because it's one of the strongest gold stocks out there with their production really ramping up over the next few years. They'll be throwing off heaps of cash, and if gold prices take off, as I said, they'll be flying. And you can see this week they've really kicked higher, and they're looking like they want to break out and extend to the upside. And often you do want to buy strength. It can be hard to do, but instead of trying to pick up the ones that are really beaten up, there's a fundamental reason for that. It can be nice when things are turning back up to actually buy strength, and that will often outperform. So Perseus looking good. Gold Roads has had a great week this week. Last week, we're looking at a price down around below $1.40. And that price this week, you can see kicking really higher, up through $1.61. So you're up over 10, 15% on the week on that. And look, if you bought a few of these, if you had a go, leave a comment down below. Let me know how you went. I'd like to hear from you. That'd be great. And look, make sure that you press the like button too. I'd like to know if you're enjoying these videos, and it's good for us to get those like buttons up. So I'd be happy if you do press it if you're enjoying these videos. So, Gold Roads flying, looking fantastic after that call last week that I reckon they were heading higher. SBM, that was the laggard that I said, you want to make sure it is turning up. And looking at this one, it is starting to play out as I'd like to see it. We're not quite at the monthly buy pivot yet, but we are seeing buying pressure from that spot where I wanted to see it, which is the buy zone of that whole wave higher over the last few years. So this one, look, it is shaping up nicely. False break of that low, monthly buy pivot of this major buy zone. As I said last week, yeah, if gold really kicks higher, we could expect to see that one trying to head back above 250. And finally, Newcrest, just to follow up, that again is kicking higher. If it closed where it is now at the end of this month, that would be the monthly buy pivot, all up based on this wave structure that I was showing you last week. It is finding a lot of support in that buy zone of this wave up in 2019. So it's, it really is holding in there. You can see all that buying pressure coming in. So we would expect it to try to kick higher from here. And if that fails, if it heads back below that sort of $19 level, it's not looking any good at all. But this is a chance for Newcrest to start kicking higher. So look, all of those gold stocks you saw in the last week kick higher, and gold prices really did sort of follow the script as far as what I was telling you last week. So hopefully you're getting something out of these videos. And really, the reason I do these videos is so that you join my service, isn't it? I'm trying to showcase my work and show you what I can do for you with the trading. Hopefully, if you're following along with this and you kick a few goals, if you do get on a few of them, maybe you'll take some of those profits and plow it into a subscription with my service. That'd be a good idea. So click the links below, find out what I'm doing at Australian Small-Cap Investigator and Pivot Trader, which is where you really learn the nuts and bolts of my system. You learn all about how it really operates. So, I'd love to get you on board. And other than that, I'll come back with more next week. And I reckon gold could even be higher than where it is now by then. All right, cheers. And I'll come back next week.